Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into Supabase Vector. It's a tool that's tackling a huge headache for developers: how to add really powerful AI features to your app without adding a mountain of complexity.
So let's say you're building an app, and you want to add those cool modern features like semantic search, where users can search by meaning and concept, not just by typing in the exact right keyword. It's the kind of thing that feels like magic.
But here's the catch. Usually, that means you have to go out and bolt on a whole separate vector database. And that brings a ton of complexity, extra costs, and just more stuff that can break.
All of a sudden, you're not just managing your main app database anymore. Now you're juggling a totally different, specialized vector database, like a Pinecone or something similar. So you've got more to learn, more servers to manage, and that constant, nagging headache of trying to keep the data in sync between two completely different systems. But what if you could just skip all of that? What if you could get all that AI power, but without the headache? Well, that's exactly the problem Supabase Vector was built to solve. It takes a unified approach, so let's see what that actually looks like. The key thing to understand is that Supabase Vector isn't some new, separate database you have to learn. It's a capability that's baked right into the Supabase platform you're already using. It just leverages the awesome pgvector extension for PostgreSQL, which means your regular data and your vector data all live in one happy home. The best way to think about this is with a simple analogy. The old way is kind of like having your kitchen in one building and your dining room in another. It's a logistical nightmare, right? You're just running back and forth all day. The Supabase way, though, is like a modern, open-plan home. Everything's in one place, easy to access, it just makes sense. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this all work in the real world? How does a developer actually use this? Let's walk through a super practical example. All right, let's get real here. Picture a developer who's built a blog on Supabase. They've got their articles table. Everything's humming along nicely. But now they want to add a similar articles feature to keep people reading and engaged.
And this is where it gets really cool. Instead of some massive, week-long project, this is something you could knock out in an afternoon. Seriously. You just add a vector column to your existing table. Then you generate what are called embeddings, which are just numerical representations of your content's meaning. And then you query them using the plain old SQL you already know and love. That's it. No new database, no data syncing, just results.
And this isn't just some surface-level thing either. The integration runs deep. You can use Supabase's existing authentication to secure your vectors, which is huge. You can even use edge functions to automatically create those embeddings whenever new content gets added. The main takeaway here is it's all one seamless, unified system.
Okay, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But let's be honest. Is it the perfect tool for absolutely every project out there? Of course not. So let's take a clear-eyed look at where Supabase Vector really shines, and maybe where you'd want to think about an alternative. So it really boils down to this. If you're already in the Supabase world and you care about simplicity and getting things done fast, this is an absolute game changer. But if you're working on a massive project that needs to search through billions of vectors or requires some super specialized features, a dedicated solution might still be the way to go. And hey, if you need any more proof of how simple this is, just look at the code. This is literally all the SQL you need to get started. You enable the extension, you alter your table, you create an index to make it fast, and then you run your search. It's familiar, it's clean, and it's just incredibly powerful. It's stuff you already know how to do. So when you put it side by side with the big specialized databases like Pinecone or Qdrant, the trade-off is crystal clear. Supabase isn't trying to be the most ridiculously performant, massive-scale vector database on the planet. Its goal is to prioritize integration and an amazing developer experience for full-stack teams.
So what's the big picture here? What does all this mean for the future of how we actually build applications? Look, at the end of the day, Supabase Vector isn't really about competing head-to-head with those giant specialized vector databases on every feature. It's about empowerment. It's about giving the millions of developers who already know and love SQL the power to build smarter, AI-driven apps without having to learn a whole new stack. And that leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. As AI features stop being a novelty and become a standard, expected part of our apps, is this kind of simple, unified approach going to become the new default for how we build software? It's something to think about.